So by this point, everybody knows that if you're in the agency space, the coaching space, this creator business space, YouTube content is a non-negotiable. You need to be making YouTube content. And a lot of people know that already, but they don't know what content assets they actually need to make and the purposes behind each of them. TikTok, Instagram are the best ways to reach a load of different people at scale. Hence why we create Instagram content, hence why we run ads, so we can bring in attention at scale. I go over short form content in another video, but you need to understand this. But that is the majority of what Reels do, right? Reels do not really build much of a connection with your audience, just purely because they're so short. It's very difficult to build a connection with someone in like 30 to 90 seconds that you have their attention. Whereas with YouTube, a video like this, where it's like, I don't know how long this is going to be, but like 15 to 20 minutes long, I have time to explain concepts in full. You're spending time with me. You're seeing my face for 15, 20 minutes at a time. That's going to compound trust. That's going to build actual relationship between you and myself, as opposed to me just trying to say something really quickly just to grab your attention on Instagram, right? One YouTube video does more heavy lifting, more work in terms of building connection, in terms of pre-selling your offer than 100 Reels do, in my experience. And that's why you see guys like Alex Hormozy, you can see guys like Matt Gray, Tom Nosk, all moving over to YouTube and hitting it harder, because you're able to rack up that watch time, rack up that 7-11-4 rule much quicker. For those of you that don't know what the 7-11-4 rule is, essentially because of the state of the creator economy right now, where there are so many people trying to build an offer, so many people trying to sell courses, coaching, info products, whatever it is, there are so many people trying to do it, trust is at an all-time low. And in order to build trust with your audience, you need to follow this 7-11-4 rule. Okay, so 7 hours spent, so 7 hours watching their content, okay, across 11 different touch points over 4 different platforms. So coming back to this point, it is much easier to reach that 7-hour mark on YouTube than it is with Reels, right? They'd have to watch hundreds and hundreds of Reels in order to reach that 7-hour watch time mark. Whereas on YouTube, you might have to watch 10 videos, right? See my point? And another beautiful thing about YouTube is that the assets that you make are evergreen. So my videos that I made like over a year ago are still being pushed out. They're still reaching viewers. Okay. Whereas Instagram Reels that I made like last week have stopped being pushed out to people, right? So YouTube assets are a lot more evergreen. They get pushed out on a longer time frame. This is essentially going to be the quickest way to speed run someone from a complete stranger to be ready to purchase your stuff. All right. So YouTube is important, but what type of content assets do we need to make for YouTube? Because I talk to a lot of people on sales calls and coaching calls, and they know they need to be on YouTube, but they don't know what YouTube videos to actually make in order to make people trust them, like them, want to buy their stuff. These are the 3 types of videos. It says 4 there. I'm going to change it to 3. These are the 3 types of videos that you need to be making in order to get people to understand what your product is and want to buy it, have trust in you as a coach, as a creator, to actually achieve those results and actually get them on your side. So it's not just about knowing what the product is and knowing that it gets results, right? I know a lot of products that I would like to buy that would definitely get me results. It's about liking the person, liking the brand that makes a real difference. These are the small details that actually build up to a buying decision, okay? So let's run through these. So the pre-sale assets. The pre-sale assets are essentially what is going to break down your offer. For example, in Creator X, in my offer, we go through a variety of different things. For example, how to build out your offer, how to build a personal brand. I have a couple of pieces of content here on building a personal brand, short form content strategy. Again, offer creation. Again, a roadmap of how to build a creative business. So these pieces of content here are essentially telling people what transformation I can deliver and how I go about doing it. Okay, I'm giving away value that gets people to understand what my offer is, be aware of the problems they have, and aware of the solutions that I have to solve those problems. And side note, these pieces of content need to be super aligned to your offer. So a lot of the time I'll speak to clients or people on sales calls and they'll be like, okay, I've got my offer and I'm making a load of YouTube content, but no one's buying. There's no translation. Okay. The messaging for your content, whether that's Reels or YouTube, okay, the topics, the verbiage, the things you're talking about need to stem directly from your offer, okay? If you're not extracting your messaging from your offer, there's going to be a misalignment between your content and your offer, and it's never going to translate into sales. For example, specific pain points, specific dream outcomes, specific problems that your offer helps people to resolve. I'm going to do a video that breaks this down specifically, so make sure you're subbed for that. But the bottom line is when we're making these pre-sale pieces of content, they need to be a precursor to your offer. Okay. So extract the ideas for content from your core offer. Otherwise there's going to be that disconnect. Secondly, we have trust building assets. Okay. So once people understand what my offer is and how it works, they then need to understand that it actually gets results and actually works. All right. Because like I said, there are hundreds of thousands of people doing coaching, info products, courses, whatever it is, that all say they make millions of pounds and all say that they can get you jacked in 80 days or whatever it is, right? You have a process, you have a course, prove that it works. All right. So that's where you show stuff like client interviews, sales calls, testimonials of results that you've gotten. Okay, so here's my page growth, 0 to 50,000 followers in 45 days. Here's clients like Rob, who we scaled to like 200K in a few months. Josh getting his first client within like 24 hours of joining Creator X, okay? So I'd run through stuff like that, show that our process isn't just what it says it is, but it also proves that it actually works. Super important. And you'll see all the people in the space doing this, okay? It's going to be pretty much impossible to sell any high ticket program or course or mentorship if you have no results that actually works. Okay. So even if you have to work for free to get that first testimonial, do it, because it's going to be so valuable. That's going to be the thing that builds real trust with your audience. Okay. Because theory only goes so far. And a lot of people, when they get to this point, they think, right, that's enough. That's all I need. I need to show how the process works. I need to show that it actually does work. Okay. And for a lot of people, you can convert here. You can make some money here. Definitely. And a lot of coaches do. But for me, there's a big difference between someone who creates content for the sake of making money and someone who's building a long-term evergreen brand that is going to work for them long into the future. And that's where the third element comes in, cult building assets. So this is where they go from thinking, right, this is another coach that can help me to make some money, right, which is what we've got here, to thinking, this is a movement. This is a movement that I want to be a part of. I love this guy. I love this brand. I love what they stand for. I love their visuals. I love the way they deliver stuff. I love their mechanisms. Okay. This is where we separate ourselves from the crowd, because in reality, these kinds of things are going to be very, very easy to come by. I know thousands of people who could present this stuff. Okay. You could make these videos with ChatGPT, like 100% you could. You could then go out, show these results. You could help your mate get some results and show them as a result. And you have these two elements, right? The thing that is going to separate guru coaches, right? So these types of people, guru coaches from evergreen personal brands who are AI resistant, who are getting clients for the next 10 years to come. Okay. They're not just going 0 to 200K a month and then straight back down within 6 months. Okay. The thing that's going to differentiate short-term brands and long-term brands is building that cult, is building that brand, that movement. And how do we do that? Okay. The first thing I do is specific visuals. Okay. If you follow me over on Instagram, you see that a lot of my content looks the same. Okay. So if you see a piece of content like this, even if I wasn't in it here, you'd know that this is my stuff, right? Same with this, with the inverted stuff. Same with this. Okay, using all the same fonts, using the same colors, etc. Same here, right? Do you see what I mean? So even if I wasn't in this, a lot of my audience would already know who it is and kind of the vibe of it, right? A lot of B-roll from me in Thailand, a lot of B-roll. The vibe of the content is something people know, and that's something I've been consistent with for a long time, because I want to build an evergreen brand. If it's something a lot of people skip over and they think, I want to kind of money grab, and that's great. Okay, you can, like I said, you can make these types of content and it will work. You will make some money. But if you want it to last more than 3-4 months and you want to optimize for a long-term personal brand that's actually going to make you money in the long term, build a cult audience, convert people over a long period of time, you need to have a visually distinct brand. You need to have specific ways of doing things. For example, our way of getting results with people is the creator acquisition system. Okay, it's not just another program. It's a specific system that we have developed using my experience, using the stuff that I've helped clients with in the past. So that's our specific unique mechanism. Okay. And all of these things here, the visuals, the language, the way we get results, okay, are specific mechanisms within Creator X and the way that we actually help people to get results. So all these different things in here, offer alchemy, brand genesis, content ecosystem, etc. All of these things is what separates our brand and makes it unique. So 2-3 years down the line, I know I'm still going to have an evergreen business, which is solving a core problem. And I'm not just going to be another guru who made a bit of money and then faded into non-existence. Okay. And the most beautiful thing about these pieces of content, right, is once they're set up, once you have your pre-sale content set up, once you have your trust asset content set up, once you have your cult building content set up, right, you essentially have ammo for any situation. Okay. Let's say you get a new follower from an ad and they reply to a story and they have an objection to your program. They have questions. Okay. You have a piece of content. You then have a piece of content that you can answer that question with. For example, let's say someone comes in from an ad and they say, "Oh, Sam, like, I don't really get what your offer is. Like, I know you do some content stuff. I know you do some offer stuff." I can send them a video that explains the entire offer. Or, for example, they could come in and say, "Sam, I get what your offer is, but I just want to understand a bit more about how you can help me with my offer." All right. I can send them a piece of content that makes them understand that. Right. Or they could come in and say, "Sam, I know exactly how your offer works. I know that you get results, but I'm just not sure, like, if you're someone I want to work with, if you know, how you know, the way you work with clients," right? You can send them a testimonial talking about the working environment, the way that you get results, your unique mechanism, etc. You can send them a video about your hobbies and the things you like to do on the weekend, your personal story, to build up a better picture of who you are as a coach, the way you operate, etc. So the reason we're building these content assets in the way that we are is so that we are prepared for any situation with a potential prospect. So your setter can send them these assets to answer any questions they might have. You're creating them once and they are serving you into the future. Okay. They are evergreen assets, hence why we call them that. Okay. Hope that's good about it. Hopefully you've picked up some good value on how to actually kickstart your YouTube career, how to kickstart YouTube as an asset for your coaching or educational business. If you want more help on how to install this, how to do it, drop me a DM on Instagram. I'll leave the link to my Instagram below this video. But for now, make sure you're subbed, make sure you're watching the content, because I'm going to have a bunch of sit videos coming out. We're logged in. We're going to have cinematic vlogs. We're going to have breakdowns like this in more detail. We're going to have a bunch of different content, client interviews, etc. Make sure you're subbed. Make sure you're extracting all of the free value that I'm giving you, because essentially my whole program is in this content. So make sure you're watching, make sure you're subbed, and you're consistently watching this content. Okay. I will see you in the next video. Make sure you're on the Instagram as well. Peace.